Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about fixing this precon. So this is the Elven Council precon, and honestly, it's one of the precons that had a really interesting theme beyond obviously, elf tribal. We've got that theme of voting in there, but I just felt that it kind of didn't go deep enough into it, right? Like we've talked in my video that I just did the other day about the most fun precons. This one is one that is incredibly fun. It just needs some changes prior to being like super top tier. Even out of the box, it's not too bad if you switch over to Aristor of the Council, and that's what we're going to be using as the commander, just because she synchronizes a lot better with it. But overall, there's some changes we can make in here, as you can with a lot of different decks, to make it a lot better. But before we got into that, we have a quick sponsor. So today's video is sponsored by TaunaMTG, and they have sent us some amazing stuff. So today we're going to be looking at the booster pack pages, and these are a really interesting thing because I don't think it's anything that I've seen from a company before. These are essentially binder pages that you're able to fit boosters into. So this is like how many you get. Like you get a whole freaking 50 of them. They hold like 300, and here's an individual one. They're actually nice and like thick, right? Like they're going to be able to protect your boosters relatively well. I did find out that you do need to make sure that they go into like a D ring binder, not an O ring binder. That just helps it be able to, last longer. Make sure that your boosters don't get crumpled and everything. But yeah, these are like, I genuinely, when they sent me this stuff and when they were asking about it, I'm like, I'm kind of worried about them getting damaged, especially because, you've got your cards in there and stuff. You don't want the cards to get damaged within the boosters, but they are nice and, well made and everything. Now, I have some blasphemy packs. I don't have any magic boosters on me at the moment. I tend to open them, but we've got these from my son here. So you can see, they fit relatively well, nice and, protected and everything. If I was to put it into a binder, it would, we've got plenty of space over there for it to be well adjusted. It's holding it in there as well. Like obviously if I kept shaking it like this, it would eventually drop out, but it's looking pretty nice. Yeah, like as I said, I kind of had reservations to start off with, just because if I was wanting to store boosters like this, I'd want to make sure that they were protected and the cards within them were protected as well. But this is like a nice, strong material. Like I'm pulling this at my full strength, and it is not going anywhere. So if you guys want to pick some of those up for yourself, whether you're making a binder showing like, one of every pack, of course, across the history of Magic or anything like that, all you need to do is head on over to tokensformtg.com. And as you're checking out, there's going to be a special code that you're able to put in. In fact, I actually have 2 different codes, and each of those codes is going to get you a different special gift. All you need to do is spend $12 or 10 euros on it, and you can get either one of these 2 tokens that is up on the screen now with those codes, Tauna 1 and Tauna 2. All right, so let's get into the deck. So where have we got it? Here, Aristor of the Council. So we're going to be using Aristor of the Council as our face commander, just because I wanted to kind of reward that voting mechanic and stuff. And this is kind of like a almost group hug kind of esque stuff. So we've got like Aristor of the Council, who makes it so people are heavily encouraged to vote for the option that you vote for, because if they vote for the option that you're voting for, they get a treasure. Everyone loves treasures. It's then if they don't, then you scry and then draw a card based off of whoever did not vote for something that you voted for. So we've got some scry stuff built in here, and we've got some treasures. So that's kind of the way and some voting. So we don't get to make treasures ourselves. We give everyone else treasures. So that's the kind of way I went with the deck. Is I took the initial deck and I went, what I want to do is I want to put more voting stuff in, some more group hug-esque kind of interaction across the board and stuff too. And then finally, I went with some, daisies. There we go. That's a bit better. I went with some more scry synergies, because this base kind of elves within Lord of the Rings had a lot of kind of scry stuff that I felt was kind of missing from it. So let's go through the cards that I added in one at a time, and I'll explain a little bit why I added them. Rivendell, just an extra land that does stuff with legendary, enters untapped with legendaries, but then it has the option of scrying. Like, you know, if we don't need the mana, then we've got scrying from that. We've got Collective Voyage. So I thought this one was a really interesting one to kind of unite the table in everyone kind of going and paying some mana and then going and searching lands and stuff, kind of like group hug-esque kind of fun for the table interaction stuff. And that's the way I wanted to make this deck, was like a fun for people to play against, with our win cons being us growing bigger from scrying and, you know, getting votes that we wanted. We've got illusion of choice here. Now, if we're giving everyone the choice of voting, why don't we just take that vote, like take that choice away from them and we just vote for them? I just thought this was hilarious. Like, you get sitting down at the table, you've got a really great, like, you know, voting card, and you put it down and then boom, now illusion of choice. Now you're going to vote for them. It's just really interesting. And you get to draw a card from it too. We've got Minds Aglow here. So again, similar to the Tempt and stuff like that. This one here, everyone gets to pay mana, and then we're going to draw a whole bunch of cards. We've got Arwen Undolmiel. So that means that we're going to, whenever we scry, we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, so we can slowly grow bigger from that, from our scrying. Split Decision here, a voting card. We get to choose a target instant or sorcery. And then everyone votes. If Denial gets more votes, we counter that spell. But if Duplication gets more votes, then we get to copy that spell. Either one of these could be a really great choice, depending on what you're targeting. Whether it's a card that you want to counter, and now everyone's encouraged to kind of, you know, counter it. But then the person who's casting that spell, obviously they don't want to counter their own spell, so they're likely to go for Duplication. You just could vote for Duplication, and then boom, now you get to copy that spell. We got Sylvan Anthem. I wanted, as I said, more scrying stuff. This just gives us more scrying stuff, as well as buffs up our green creatures. We've got Edric, Spymaster of Trest. You know, I wanted some more kind of group hug-esque stuff, and this is something that encourages people to go hit everyone else instead of you, because they get to draw cards whenever they go hit someone else. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, is just a repeatable scry engine, and then potentially go into the Ring Tempts You as well. And we've got some Ring Tempts You kind of synergies across stuff. We've got Elvish Marina here. Whenever it attacks, scry 1, and then whenever you scry, you get to tap target non-land permanents from opponents, which is really, really cool. Galadriel of Lothlorien. I am butchering these names, apologies. Whenever the ring tempts you, you get to scry, and then whenever you scry, you can reveal the top card of your land, top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield. That's really good, right? Because we're going to be scrying a lot. We can just use this to be able to get a whole bunch of lands out. We've got Life Crafter's Bestiary. Now, this is a card that I typically kind of look at cutting from some decks, but I figured that this was, one, a nice scry engine at the start of each turn, and two, we can also just draw cards from it. We've got Coercive Portal here, another voting one. This is at the beginning of your upkeep. Everyone votes for either Carnage or Homage. If Carnage gets more votes, then you sacrifice it and destroy all non-land permanents. If Homage gets more votes, or the vote is tied, you get to draw a card. So most likely, most people are wanting to keep their boards, so they're going to vote for the second one, which means it's just draw a card at the start of each upkeep, right? Really cool. However, when it gets to the point that someone has taken away with the board, hopefully not you, then you could potentially get everyone to vote for Carnage, and now, boom, you get a board wipe from it. We've got Displacer Kitten. I typically wanted to just add elves in here, but one, look at Displacer Kitten. It has to be in the deck. Two, it's going to make it so that we get to flicker a card each time we cast a non-creature. We have a few voting ones that are when this enters the battlefield vote. So I figured that that was a nice way to kind of essentially get those to be repeatable, because, you know, ETBs you can only do once unless you repeat them by something like this. We've got Elrond, Master of Healing, and someone actually commented down below in my previous video that they made him the face commander for the deck and then kind of changed it over to scry stuff. But I figured that I wanted to go more into the voting, but then have like Elrond as this kind of secondary force within the deck for when we do have more scry stuff going on. We can bring him out, and then boom, now we're just getting a huge amount of +1s out onto our creatures. We've got Tempt with Discovery. I was actually super surprised. So I was playing my Bumbleflower deck the other day at my LGS, and I sat down and I played this with Bumbleflower on turn, like, it must be turn 3 or something, turn 3, and then everyone at the table did it. So therefore, I got to get 4 lands out. It was, absolutely crazy. We got Tempest Reflections as well. This lets us be able to create a token copy of something, and then everyone else can make a token copy, and then if they do, then you make another token copy as well. We've got Emissary Green. The Clue, I swear Clue has some really, really great cards that people kind of overlooked. I actually made a video about it, but I don't think it got very many views. But Emissary Green is just a great one from it, because it's going to make it so you get to create a whole bunch of treasures, or you get to put a whole bunch of +1s on something, or you get to do both, because it's not based off of whichever one gets the most votes. It's just you get to do both depending on what people vote for. We've got Messenger Jays. Whenever at ETBs, starting with you, each person votes for feather or quill. You get to put a +1 on it for each feather, and then you draw a card for each quill. But then you need to discard cards based off of how many cards you draw. So it kind of cycles through your hand. We've got Orchard Elemental here. It either gets +1s based off of Sprout votes, or you gain life based off of Harvest votes. Selvala Stampede. Starting with you, each person votes for either wild or free. You reveal cards from the top of your library for each until you reveal a creature card for each wild vote, and then that goes onto the battlefield. Or if someone voted for free, then you get to put a card from your hand onto the battlefield for free. Really, really cool. I love this one. I think this is probably my favorite new edition. We've got the Temporal Anchor here. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 2. And then whenever you put cards onto the bottom from scrying, you exile them instead of, just putting them on the bottom. And now, boom, you can play those on your turn with the Temporal Anchor. We've got Expropriate. Had a really cool art with the Duskmourn set. So starting with you, each person votes for either time or money. If time gets more for each time vote, you take an extra turn. And then for each money vote, you get to steal something from them. Just a permanent, by the way, just a permanent. It doesn't even need to be a creature. That's really, really cool. This is like a big kind of game ending thing. It could potentially just make you take away with the game. Unfortunately, you do need to exile it after, so we don't have a way to bring it back. But anyway, so as for our cuts, let's go down to the cuts here. So I cut a couple lands because we added 1 land in, and then cut them. Most of the stuff that I cut was either stuff that I didn't feel did enough for like the game plan. Like Hadriel had Heldi here. She enters with +1s, and then you can give other stuff +1 for each counter on her, which is good game ender, but I just felt like we had other game enders in here that were going to be stronger. Some of the mana docs that were a little bit weaker, the non-elves as well, because I mostly wanted to kind of focus on elves. And some of the stuff they've got in here, like Hornet Queen, is just, I don't know why Hornet Queen's in here. That's a really weird one. I just mostly cut the stuff that I felt didn't really fit the game plan, as opposed to kind of switching over to this scry focus with a kind of, it's kind of a mix between a group hug / council voting, and then with scry as like our secondary theme that's going to end up being our win con, because that's how we're getting buffed up by a whole bunch of stuff, whether it's Arwen or Elrond. Elrond getting he doesn't scry. It's the other Elrond, that Elrond. So I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. And make sure you check out Tokens for MTG. As I said, I'll put the link down in the comments, as well as, you can see the 2 different tokens that you can potentially get as a gift if you make a purchase from them. Have a great day and goodbye.